Good morning again, everyone. My name is Melissa Bauer, and I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives and Sustainability Programs at the Pet Sustainability Coalition. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's morning here in sunny Colorado, or wherever you are joining us from this morning. We've got a lot to go over this morning, so we're going to get started. Before we do that, a couple of the pieces of housekeeping. First of all, everyone that registered for the webinar today will be getting a copy of the slides and the recording, so no need to be frantically taking screenshots or anything. We will also be taking questions from the audience. So if you have any troubles or technical problems at any point during the webinar, the Pet Sustainability Coalition team is hanging out in the chat function and they will be able to assist you. However, if you have questions for any of the speakers, we will be taking those in the Q&A tab. So down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little Q&A, and that's where you can be dropping questions at any time. We'll be answering those live and also leaving plenty of time at the end. If you aren't familiar with the Pet Sustainability Coalition, we are a nonprofit industry association that works with over 200 members of the pet industry, all throughout the supply chain and all throughout the globe. Today, we're going to be talking about Flex Forward. So we've been working on Flex Forward here at the Pet Sustainability Coalition for a good many years. And you might have heard about it. This might be your first introduction. Today, we're going to be talking about what is PSC's packaging work. We're going to talk about what is Flex Forward, what is the background of the program. We're going to talk about collections for this Return to Retail pilot program. We're going to talk about feedback, and we're going to talk about next steps. I am only one voice in this very large program, so I'm really excited to welcome guests who you'll be hearing throughout this presentation today. We're going to be joined by Michael Cody, who is the head of digital marketing and sustainability from Earth Animal. From Michael Baker, who is the president and CEO of Pet Food Experts, and from Patty and Georgianne from Pet Pro, some of our awesome participating retailers, talking about different aspects of this pilot and what it looked like from their particular perspective. But how does Flex Forward fit into what PSC is and who we do? So here at the Pet Sustainability, we serve a dual role. We work with all of our 200 plus members to help them measure, improve, and celebrate their sustainability performance for what it means for their individual business goals. But we also work to bring the industry together to address large scale social and environmental issues that are too big for one company or one sector, of the pet industry to solve. So we're going to be talking about that second piece of that puzzle today, our strategic initiatives. So even though we're focused on packaging today, our strategic initiatives actually takes 3 different areas. Right now, we're focused on sustainable proteins, sustainable packaging, and diversity and equity inclusion. And so if you'd like to learn any more about any of that work, please be sure to stop by the Pet Sustainability website and learn more about that work and how you can be involved. But today we're going to be talking about sustainable packaging. So Flex Forward and the program that we're going to be talking today is a very important of the Pet Sustainability Coalition's packaging work, but it's only one piece. We are focused on many different efforts when it comes to sustainable packaging, and we invite everyone on the call to become involved if you're not already doing so. Our sustainable packaging work takes a breadth of area, including everything from tools. We have an entire packaging part of our toolkit, including everything from case studies, life cycle assessments, checklists, all kinds of tools. So I encourage you to take that back. We're going to be talking about the second part of this today, our Take Back program, but we also include packaging programs such as awards, and we even have a 2-day packaging summit dedicated specifically to the pet industry in February called Unpacked. It was hugely successful this past February, and we invite you to join us this coming February. So taking a deep breath, Flex Forward, let's get into it. What is it? How did we do it? How's it going? Let's start at the beginning. Oh, first, let's figure out why my slides flashed. All right. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody. All right, sorry about that. So, talking about Flex Forward, I'm going to be going over a lot of information in the next couple of minutes that we have together, but it's only one tiny percentage of the information that we have available to you. So, I will strongly encourage you to check out Flexing Forward, our phase 1 report. It is available for free at this link. I'll also make sure that we include it in the follow up. We're going to be talking about highlights of this report, but if you want to learn more information, I absolutely encourage you to download and read the information that's in this report. So, background. What is the scope of the problem that we're trying to fix with the Flex Forward program? So, for those of you, many of you might have seen this graphic before, but right now, according to research performed on behalf of the Pet Sustainability Coalition, we estimate that 99% of current pet food and treat bags are not recyclable in North America. And what that amounts to is a huge problem. 300 million pounds of packaging for pet food and treats going to the landfill in North America every single year. So, the Pet Sustainability Coalition is very committed to solving this and many other problems in the pet industry. And so, back in 2018, the PSC worked with PetSmart to sponsor a feasibility study put on by Circular Matters. In that feasibility study, we looked at a lot of different options of what were the best way to tackle this program. And one of the things that rose to the top in that feasibility study and work was a return to retail pilot. On this graphic on the right, you'll see some of the aims that we hoped to discover through this pilot. Would consumers bring back packaging? What did the logistics look like? What is this is a suitability of post-consumer waste and materials in pet food bags and recycling types? And we aimed to collect 5,000 pounds of pet food packaging in order to really model what this system would look like and what success would look like. If you want to learn more about these goals, I'm going to encourage you to check out that report. Out of that feasibility rose this pilot. This is a idealized model of what a return to retail pet food packaging system would look like, in which pet parents would be able to bring back their pet food and treat packaging directly to retailers, who would then be able to, through reverse logistics, collect those materials through their distributor partner. So while the distributor was dropping off a product, they'd be able to pick up these bags as a collection model. That distributor would then gather and ship those collected materials to a recycler, who ideally we would be able to then turn those materials back into materials or items that could be used in the pet industry and either sold back or donated to pet parents, who would then bring it back to retailers. And so this is the idealized model of circularity that we are working towards with the Flex Forward pilot. So we've got this feasibility study. We've got this idea of what this would look like. What happened next? Well, the Pet Sustainability Coalition couldn't do this on our own. So we needed to seek out some key partners, several of which you're going to hear from today. The first real key partnership of the Flex Forward program was Earth Animal, who through a huge step of generosity, both for financial resources, but all staff resources, was our first big partner in this program. And I'm excited to hear from Mike Cody what that perspective looked like from their end. We then needed a distributor partner. So through the huge generosity, we partnered with PSC icon level member pet food experts who would model and implement those reverse logistics. And then we'd need a recycling partner. So we partnered with Kurt Dudska at Engineered Plastics, who had over 30 years worth of plastics recycling knowledge in the pet industry. And with all of these partners and several more, we set out to look at could we achieve this circularity in the pet industry. Then comes the when and where. So that feasibility study came out end of 2018. We spent 2019 building those partnerships and modeling what it would look like. The collection region that was picked was the Pacific Northwest for two different reasons. First of all, there was a high level of consumer interest in sustainability programs, according to that high feasibility study. And also, pet food experts and their team in the Pacific Northwest had already modeled what a successful cardboard take back program was. So they already had some of the systems in place to expand that work into bags. So we picked the Pet Food Experts Pacific Northwest collection region. We were all ready to go and ready to launch. Collections were supposed to start in March 2020. Something else happened in March 2020, specifically in the Pacific Northwest. And all of a sudden, COVID hit, and we were hit with some logistical challenges. We couldn't encourage consumers to bring back packaging if they weren't allowed to be going into retailers anyway. We couldn't be taking returns due to health concerns and just a lot of logistical challenges due to COVID. So, originally scheduled to launch collections in March 2020, that ultimately got delayed, and we were able to start collections in August of 2020. This is something that if you haven't checked out the report, I'm really going to strongly encourage you to take a look at. Part of what we initially attribute some of the success of the collections phase of Flex Forward is the huge investment in marketing assets that went along with this program. So if you think of a regular store take back program, it's a bin, not particularly marketed well, sometimes can be very difficult to find, not normally the most beautiful thing. Kind of maybe off in a deserted corner of maybe your local grocery store. But that is not what Flex Forward was. We wanted our consumers and we wanted our retailers to be as supported and as excited and as informed about this program as possible. So while we were envisioning this program, we built an entire suite of assets for our retailers and our consumers. Everything from an entire digital asset kit, how-to videos, promotional videos, an entire social media kit so retailers could be talking about this program on their social media and on their website. Flyers, store take back cards so that could sit there right at the register. So as consumers were checking out, we could be promoting the program right there at point of sale. There was aisle signage, FAQ documents, all kinds of things. So Earth Animal was such an expert and such a valuable partner in this process, making sure that all of our retailers and our consumers were informed of as much about the process and as much about the pilot as possible. Special design consideration was taken when looking at the bin itself. So once again, when we think of store take back plastic models, you're not always talking about, the most attractive bin. If you haven't seen one of the Flex Forward bins, they're actually gorgeous. So they were made to be durable to last about 6 months. So even though they're cardboard, they're really, really durable cardboard. They had a double walled bottom. So in case stores wanted to mop or if there were any pet accidents. And there was a lot of information on the vessel itself. So you can see it had this back panel that had information about the program, lots of signage. The vessel itself was made out of 100% recycled and recyclable cardboard so that retailers could easily just throw this bin in with their regular recycling. And it was walled with recyclable bags. So this black part of the bin that you see comes really easily off. And then there was a bag liner in the bin. And then that liner could just be picked up, tied up, replaced. And then all of that bag itself was recyclable and so could be thrown right in the recycling stream with the collected bags. So a lot of attention was paid to the collection vessel itself. And one of the key reasons for success that we've identified with the collection models and the amount of packaging we were able to collect in a minute, I'll talk about that, was due to the special attention paid to by the collection bin. But as I mentioned, I don't want you to take my word for it. So I'm really excited and happy to welcome Michael Cody, Head of Digital Marketing and Sustainability from Earth Animal, who's just going to share some thoughts with us about what did this look like from Earth Animal's perspective? Why did Earth Animal choose to sign on as the fiscal and financial sponsor? And also, Michael, it wasn't an easy year or 6 months there trying to get it launched, was it?
It was a bit of a challenge, that's for sure, Melissa. And first off, I want to thank you for your continued leadership in this. It certainly wouldn't be where we are without your efforts. I know it's been a ton of work, and you've been a truly inspiring leader on this. So thank you very much. I remember when we first started talking about running a program like this and the daunting task that we kind of realized it would be. It came about basically because we were unhappy with the recycling options that were in the market at the time. The few options we were looking into just didn't provide the level of transparency or confidence that we felt we could go about and speak to our consumer effectively about. They just didn't. There was very limited transparency into the recycling process itself, how much of our bags would actually be recycled. And it was more of seemed like it was more of a business decision rather than an altruistic solution for the entire industry, which is really what Earth Animal and PSC are all about. Um, so we wanted a fully inclusive solution that wasn't just for Earth Animal, but for all brands and all stakeholders. And I think this is truly a solution that encompasses those key areas that we were looking for. I have no problem with anyone making money or having a successful business. That's obviously what we're all here to accomplish. But the most important thing for us is the greater impact on the world around us. And I think that I can confidently say that would be uh, similar mind frame for PSC and our partners at PFX as well. I'd say starting at the beginning, we had this idea and a few what ifs. What if we could do this a better way, a more exciting, more transparent, more effective way? What if we could do this ourselves, driving collaboration within the industry, coming together to solve big problems for all stakeholders? What if we could provide a solution that not only helps recycle this enormous amount of packaging and solves that enormous environmental problem, but also drives retail visits and conversions for our partners and helps grow their business and their communities. So it's a lot of different areas we looked at. And I remember when we decided we were going to move forward with this program, when we told the partners we were speaking to, the other options there, that we are going to do this on our own. We were going to try to develop this system by ourselves. They basically said, good luck, because they knew all the challenges that would be coming out of this well before we had an idea of all the challenges that would kind of be presented to us. All these different types of packaging typically include 5 or 6 different layers of plastic material that are very hard to separate out. Um, uh, how are you going to recycle 50 different brands packaging when it's all different materials? So even if you have a way to recycle one specific brand's type of packaging, how are you going to do that when it's 5 or 10 or 50? The logistics is incredibly complicated. How are we going to do that on an effective scale? And luckily, Michael Baker and PFX were willing to jump in and really take a leadership role in this and provide those reverse logistics. It simply would not be possible or economic without their commitment to this as well. So it's really a collaborative effort. It's something that's really, really neat. And I think we've made a lot of strides. And I think we've made some of those other partners kind of sweat a little bit. And when they see what's coming next, I think they're going to start sweating quite a bit more. So it's been a really cool journey, and excited to see where we go from here.
Thank you, Mike. Very well said. That perspective is invaluable. And anyone, Michael and his team were very involved with the design and the assets and the launch of this whole program. So I really encourage you all to be asking him questions when we get to that Q&A. So thanks again, Mike. So we've launched the program. Collections have started. How did it go? So initially, uh, through the amazing promotion and partnership with pet food experts, we had over 200 retailers that were eligible for the store. 46% of them signed up. We anticipate that number would be a lot higher had the program gone on. We had several retailers still trying to sign up for the program at the end of the program. So we are confident that number would have gone up. But this is already well above the 6% of the pilot goal. So in a short period of time. So that's hugely, hugely due to the leadership of pet food experts. And then how did collections actually go? So to be completely honest, we assumed a 5% return rate. So for those of us who are familiar with store take back programs of your regular plastic grocery bag, films, plastic bags and sacks, those kinds of things, nationwide, the recycling rate of those things is about 5%. First, we were very well below that. So it took this program several weeks to gain momentum. That was due to a lot of reasons. We were kind of pretty consistently checking in with our retailers, asking them how it was going, asking for feedback, and some of the feedback that we got were things that weren't terribly surprising. For example, store consumer foot traffic was down due to COVID-19 safety concerns. Not only that, but people were being more hesitant about stockpiling packaging, both in their store and consumers at home. There was time needed for consumers to change their behavior. I do sustainability for a living, and I forget my refillable plastic bags from time to time when I go to the grocery store. So it just takes time to work up those habits. Also, retailers were in crisis mode, and we really want to honor and thank our participating retailers for participating in this pilot at a really difficult time from retailers. So everything from staff shortages to COVID concerns, safety protocols, lack of product, all kinds of concerns. And so we didn't expect this program to be first in our retailers' mind, but we're still blown away by their participation. And you'll get to hear what this looked like from a retailer point of view in just a moment when we chat with Pet Pros. So there's a lot of data, once again, in this report. So if you haven't had a chance to check with the Flex Forward report, we have broken down every week of the pilot, how much pounds were collected by store, total, all of those kinds of things. But the short version of that is by the pilot wrap up, we were averaging over 8 pounds of packaging per store per week, which was well above our goal. And we were really, really, really pleased. With that, we met our initial goal of collecting in our goal weight in 6 months. We actually came in a month ahead of schedule. So we ended collections in February of 2021. And as I mentioned, we overshot our goal by a lot. So we aimed to collect, and through that initial feasibility study, we modeled that we would collect 5,000 pounds of packaging. We actually collected 8,356 pounds of collections. To imagine what that looks like, I got known for being called them bags of bags. So you look like a big, huge trash bag with a bag. That is 807 bags of bags full of the smaller bags. That's 26 Gaylords worth of material, which is just an insane amount of material. And through initial sorting, our sorting team estimated that we collected at least 400 different kinds of food and treat bags, representing anywhere between 50 and 75 different brands of materials. So that aim that Michael was talking about, of that this be a solution for the pet industry as a whole, not one company or one brand like you will see in other collection schemes in the pet industry, really was successful. So the amount of hours that this took from the pet food distributors, we were having weekly teams meetings with dozens of team members, would not in any way, shape, or form have been possible without the leadership and partnership from a huge team at Pet Food Experts. I'm so excited to welcome Michael Baker, the president and CEO, to talk about how this looked from Pet Food Experts' team. But Michael, this was a ginormous effort from your team. So thank you for that. But how did that look like from your point of view?
Yeah, thanks. I wish I could have had Don, Allison, Jeff, Kelly, Stacy, and the dozens of other folks that were involved in this project since the beginning, sitting here next to me, but there wasn't enough room and it wouldn't be 6 feet apart, I guess. But the team did a fantastic job. I just get to share a little bit of our experience with y'all today and want to thank you, Melissa, as Michael did, you and the team continue to push the envelope on what seemed like an enormous, unachievable goal to even get this off the ground, even if we didn't have a pandemic in the middle of it. And here we stand with impact having been made, and inspiration to take this further and faster with help from a lot of folks that are on this call with us today. I will say I have a unique perspective as an owner of a distribution business that's nearly national now, with 6 warehouses across the US. I'm the 4th generation owner of 9 pet stores here in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And I'm the father of 3 beautiful teenage daughters that seem to come out of the womb with a concern for taking care of our planet. They're certainly constantly reminding me and being educated about the importance of sustainability and all things Mother Earth. So no lack of perspective or inspiration from my side of the house. And I'm also a proud board member of the Pet Sustainability Coalition. So this opportunity, when I think about why I joined the board, to take this competitive advantage spot we have in the industry, sitting between over 127 manufacturers and that side of our independent pet community, as well as now 6,000 in individual retail locations that we serve each and every day. We have such a great opportunity to jump in, to do everything we can to make this happen. And I think purposely ignore how challenging it was going to be to voluntarily sign ourselves up to do reverse logistics. One of the things that plagues our system the most is taking things back, which is why we're so typically inspired to try to get you, if you're a retailer on this call, to try to get your order right the first time, every time. It's a real challenge for us to take things back in any way, shape, or form, whether it's our fault or not. And in this case, to raise our hands, both hands, and volunteer to take on this challenge was, I think it probably speaks to the motivation we have to try to help and to the importance of this initiative. So I did want to focus specifically, seeing that there may be a couple of my distribution peers here on the call. And I'm really excited that both Phillips and Animal Supply have joined the fight in supporting Pet Sustainability Coalition at the icon level very recently. And I hope it's because we can get them and their teams as excited as we were when this started, because we're going to need help, as inspired as we are to do this work and embrace the challenge of reverse logistics with mountains of bags coming in. We can't do this alone. So I hope we can rely on those folks at Phillips Animal Supply, as well as our other distributor peers across the country, particularly in markets where we're not currently located. But some of the challenges I heard about that pushed our system to the limit at the trucking side, obviously picking up these bags of bags, as Melissa described them. And I've seen pictures, I haven't seen them in person, but taking anything when you still have deliveries to be made and there are orders on the truck, trying to take things back is a challenge. So our drivers tackled that and found a place to squeeze them on the trucks. When they did come back and make their way to our distribution center in Tacoma, Washington, Don was able to share that you can't imagine how much space these things take. And we did find from the beginning, and it sounds like things got better as time went along, that there was quite a bit of cross-contamination. Although some consumers and pet parents were kind enough to wash out their bags and put them in our bins in near perfect order. Like with any recycle bin, I suppose, people don't really pay attention, and the onus will be on us going forward as retailers on the front lines to make sure we educate and communicate to our pet parents that are lovingly dropping this stuff off in the store, that it doesn't include soda pop cans and other recyclables that they just thought would be a great idea to bring to the pet store, along with their empty pet food and treat bags. So, but all of those things did take up a tremendous amount of space in our distribution centers. We had to be cautious of not having it take too much space so we can still do our regular work. But all of those things, the whole point of this pilot program was that we could learn this in a controlled way and be that much better prepared when we roll this out across the country. So on behalf of everybody on my team, Melissa, we were thrilled to jump in, and we can't wait to continue to do great work with you and your team.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. That perspective is invaluable. And yes, 26 Gaylords worth of material is an incredible amount of space. So once again, thank you to you and your entire team, who I miss talking to many times a week, to be honest. So I'm excited to see where we can go. So thank you for that. So we got managed through the collections. We've launched it. We built this beautiful bin. We've managed to collect 26 Gaylords and 83,000 bags. But none of this would have happened without our retailers. And when we look about the future of this program, none of it would be possible without our retailer partners. So a big piece of thing that we've been paying attention to is, what did this look like from a retailer point of view? How did it go for them? And what can we do better? So we've been extensively talking to all of our participating retailers, and we even have one of them here to talk to you about that. But to give you kind of the highlights, we did survey all of our retailers. A lot of the information in really detailed format is in that report. So I encourage you to check it out. When we look at what were some of the positives, 94% of the surveyed retailers said that they thought this drove business value for them. Almost 83% of the stores reported that their employees were very excited to get involved with this program. We've got almost 96% of retailers that are responding absolutely or yes. This did provide value. Overwhelming positive feedback for the materials themselves and things of that nature. With the biggest one that I'm most proud of is that we had 92% of retailers answered that they were very likely to participate if we in a pilot similar to Flex Forward. But with any program, there's always room for improvement. The most common negative feedback that we got from retailers was honestly the collections ending. There was definitely ways that we could have been communicating that this was a temporary program better, and many felt that they did not have the opportunity to communicate with their store employees and consumers about the temporariness. There was also some significant feedback from retailers about not being aware of the many benefits. So as I mentioned, we built this beautiful suite of assets and things available to them. But as we all know, retailers are incredibly busy. So don't always have the time to be really combing through emails or phone calls. And so many of the retailers didn't know that they had access to all of those tools. So that's definitely a room for improvement. And then asked for signage. So as Michael Baker said, when the program first launched, we were having a large problem with contamination. So soda bottles or milk bone boxes or things of that nature. So some really increased signage about what is eligible for collection and what is not. So to talk about what this looked like from a retailer point of view, I'm really excited to invite Patty and Georgianne, who are from the Pet Pros team. The Pet Pros team was our top multi-location retailer collections for this area. And over, I think it's 1/10 of all of the packaging that got collected at a Pet Pros. So really excited to hear your perspective, Patty and Georgianne. I know your team was very enthusiastic about joining trainings and posting on social media. It was great.
Well, I will jump in, and Georgianne, you can chime in as you like. But first, we'd like to say thank you, Melissa, and to everyone else for taking on this important initiative. It's huge, and just learning all the background about it really brought to light for us and our teams what an important thing this is. And we have a pretty healthy orientation towards the environment in the Northwest. So when we decided to jump into this, we knew it would resonate with our teams for sure and our customers. But the question of will they actually physically bring bags back into the store was, somewhat of an unknown. And what would the logistics look like? But I have to say that the thoughtful planning, the thoughtful messaging, all of the execution was brilliantly done, so that on our side of it, as a retailer with 18 stores, it was very easy to execute. The materials were very clear, and we had our teams, they're kind of what we call our secret weapon. And once they get behind something, just look out. And we did find that they were very much in support of this and spread the word. We also used our own channels to reach out to our customers via email and through social media and blogs. And there was a ton of engagement on all of it. And social media is one of those things where you can see pretty fast if people are interested. And we could see pretty quickly that there was a lot of interest. And I would just say in terms of, how those pieces fit in the store, that was also well thought out. We have smaller stores, and just logistically having a small footprint for the bin was lovely. And all the material, like I say, all the materials were very, very well used by our teams. Yeah, and I think that it really opened up a conversation, and that was probably the most exciting thing to see. And these customers actually, after the fact, after it was done, we do a survey in the spring, and customers, we get feedback on all sorts of things, but unsolicited, we had so many comments of, when is Flex Forward coming back? We love that program. We hope it'll come back again. And this, like I say, is completely unsolicited. Let me throw these comments into your customer survey. So you can see that it was very, very well received by everyone. And we would, we would of course love to see it continue, because I think everyone felt good about it, felt like they could contribute. And yeah, I think that's probably the gist of it. Georgianne, did you have any other thoughts on it?
I just would like to say that, I mean, we probably get questions from our staff about, at least once a week, any updates, when's it coming back? And like Patty said, and it really wasn't difficult to get our staff on board with it, because it's such an important project.
Ladies, you did that perfectly. Such a great transition into what we're going to talk about next. Thank you so much for your participation at your staff. It was so much fun just seeing weekly updates if we've made this sign or here's a picture, and it was great. So thank you so much. I know we have several retailers on the line, so I'm really going to encourage you to be dropping those questions for Patty and Georgianne in the Q&A, which we'll get to in just a minute. But before we do that, I want to give you a little brief highlight of kind of what happens now. So you can collect almost, over 8,000 pounds of packaging, and that's great. But what are you going to do with it? And that's a real differentiator between Flex Forward and some of the other pet food packaging schemes and companies you'll see out there. So if you've never seen what gaylords of pet food packaging look like, this is a picture from initial sorting of the packaging. You can see just the huge variety of the materials collected. In case you're wondering what that blue is, those are the bin liners that could get recycled right along with the bags. So as I mentioned, we estimated that there were over 400 different kinds of packaging collected from more than 50 different brands. And surprisingly, contamination was relatively low. So one of the big naysayers arguments that I heard when we were launching this program was, all of the bags are going to be too dirty. There's nothing going to be to do. We did include instructions to our consumers to wash the packaging, and a lot of our consumers took it up on it. So our recycler, Kurt, that I was talking about, thought that we had shipped him new bags when he got the first batch. So contamination was an issue, but we were able to combat that with our retailers and talking with our consumers on a pretty quick basis. And overall contamination was low. We estimated less than a 5% contamination rate, which was great. But we were just staggered at the high level of variability of the types and sizes of bags collected. And it became very obvious why this material is considered not recyclable. There is just a huge challenge for mechanical recycling. So what happens next is recycling trials. The Pet Sustainability Coalition is actively pursuing 7 to 9 different chemical and mechanical recycling pilots from over 12 partners. These are pictures from a trial that literally just happened yesterday. So you can see the packaging going up a conveyor belt, and then we were able to pelletize some of that material. So a lot of these trials are happening, wrapping up, and we're going to be getting answers soon, but exploring many different chemical recycling, many different mechanical recycling And if you'd like to learn more about what chemical and mechanical recycling are, we have all of that information in that Flex Forward report, working with partners across the plastics and recycling partnerships. So what happens next is that we need to complete testing. We need to undergo financial modeling. What did all of this cost? How much do the recycling mechanisms cost? All of those things. We need to ensure the environmental impact of modeling. By definition, by collections, you are shipping this material multiple times. Recycling process causes energy, uses waste, then we ship them again, just to make sure that we're doing our diligence to ensure that through this process, we are actually accomplishing an environmental good. And then leveraging the knowledge from all of those different recycling pilots towards improvement. This all then goes back into a feasibility study part 2, looking at the environmental impact, the financial impact, what were the results of all of these different pilots, and then that will be compiled into a report expected early 22. So stay tuned, that is coming. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Flex Forward is great and we are very excited about the progress that we have so far. But this is just one piece in the overall packaging long-term solutions. We as an industry must be moving towards monomaterials, pet food packaging, and treat packaging. We must be working forward to shift the pet industry toward a single type of material that would allow packaging to be widely accepted in both Flex Forward type collections, but also existing store drop-off programs as well. The example that our recycler Kurt loves to use is, what if every soda bottle and water bottle was made out of something different? The reason that you can recycle those is because even though they're all different shaped and colors, inherently they're all the same bottle. And those materials, recyclable monomaterials, need to already be offered. They already are offered in the pet industry. So we as the Pet Sustainability Coalition are committed to moving the industry in that direction. There's a very important conversation around extended producer responsibility, or EPR for short, around additional taxes and legislation with the new packaging EPR laws just being touched in Oregon and Maine, and how does that impact the financial modeling of packaging with new taxes and levies on non-recyclable packaging. And the moral of the story is PSE is here to support you and building programs to speed the adoption of recyclable materials, both within the context of Flex Forward, but also without the context of Flex Forward, and wider industry solutions as well. So we invite you to be on this journey. If you are not already, we encourage you to join our mailing list so you can hear how this is going, to stay informed on all of our work on sustainable packaging. And if you are not involved, we would love you to be a member of PSE, to be involved in this journey as well. So I'm going to open it up for questions for all of our speakers. So invite our speakers to come on, and we've got a lot of questions coming in. So Amy from the Pet Sustainability team is going to be joining on and helping us yield those questions. But if you have any for myself about the program, or Michael Cody, or pet food experts, or our retailers, let's hear them. So Amy, it looks like we've got some great questions coming in already.
We do. Thank you so much, everybody, for asking these great questions. We just got one that I really like, and I think a lot of people have questions around. What role does or can the How to Recycle program really play into this effort?
I can feel that one. So as we were talking about, Flex Forward is a wonderful program that we're very proud of and enthusiastic about, but it is a program designed to deal with the unrecyclable packaging that's on the market today. The fantastic news is, realistically, there are lessons to be learned here, but recycling collection schemes and recyclable materials already exist in the pet industry today, and can be utilized through the How to Recycle program. So standardized labeling, telling from a brand perspective, consumers what to do with their packaging, is actually one of the main recommendations for packaging from the Pet Sustainability Coalition, and really moving the industry towards those already recyclable solutions, and standardized labeling through programs like How to Recycle is really what we see the future of the pet industry. Anything to add? Anybody? All right.
Wonderful. With how Flex Forward was designed, we have questions around if a retailer or a store, uses a distributor, but the distributor uses a third party to actually drop off and pick up items, how would they be able to get involved? I think Michael Baker, if you have any insight on that, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, that is one of the greatest challenges we have is in hard to reach places, which depending on the geography around our 6 warehouses, and this would apply to any of my peers as well across the country, we do on a regular basis utilize third party, and they dislike reverse logistics even more than we do because they're not actually a client customer relationship. So that challenge exists for us in all markets, especially in the Midwest for us, where we have seen demand from our customers wanting to jump in on this program as we roll it out. So it's something we're going to have to look into, and we know that it's the challenge. We know it exists. We just don't have an obvious solution for it yet, till we can do drone pickups or something really cool in the future. But that's a great question.
Thank you so much. Next, we have a question around TerraCycle. So TerraCycle collects pet food bags and treat pouches that contain or are made of plastic. It sounds like they are recycling those bags. Do they use a different process than we did in Flex Forward? Michael, Cody, do you have anything to speak to that?
Yeah, so we're not entirely sure what methods TerraCycle uses. They aren't incredibly transparent about what they're doing with the bags. We know they do recycle some of them, most likely the ones that are already monomaterials or easy to recycle. They know there's end markets for, but we don't have definitive data that shows what they're actually recycling and what they're doing with the rest of the packaging that they can't actually recycle. So what percentage is actually being mechanically recycled and then turned into other products versus what percentage is actually being chemically recycled and burned for energy, or who knows what else is done with it. They're an interesting organization, and I think they have a good mission. I think they're certainly a business, and they're trying to make some money, but nothing wrong with that. We just prefer a little more transparency and collaboration. So I wish I could answer that question a little more thoroughly, but we truly don't know, and they don't offer that information readily, available. It's not available.
Thank you. Any other additions to that, Melissa, or anyone else?
I guess I can just echo what Michael Baker said. I work very closely with the TerraCycle team through work. PSC is a signatory and a very active member in the U.S. Plastics Pact, and we work very directly with TerraCycle. So we are fans of their program. However, they do not publicly release what their recycling methods are, nor do they commit to actually recycling the materials that are collected. And so what we are really focused on through Flex Forward and through our work at the Pet Sustainability Coalition is finding a solution for the entire industry rather than one specific brand working through TerraCycle.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask this question to our retailers. So for Pet Pros, from a retailer's point of view, how are consumers talking about sustainable packaging? Is that something you're hearing often in the stores? Is it guiding, your decisions? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Patty, do you want to take it, or you want me to?
Sure, I'll say a little bit about what we have seen. And this is, like I said, we have 18 stores and obviously a lot of customers, so it's hard to generalize. But we do have one way of generalizing from our standpoint, and I referenced this earlier, that we do a customer survey, and we ask them, the importance of different things. Local products, one of them is eco-friendly products. And we have, it's just based on a range, and our customers say, over 50% say that is extremely important to them. So, well, from store to store, you're going to have different questions on things. That's a pretty big number that says this is at the top of my list for an important thing. It's not just I'm neutral on this. It is a very, very important thing. So from that perspective, I would say I believe they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Georgianne?
No, but yeah, we do, like, just to echo Patty, we listen to our customers, we observe what's going on around us in other retail locations. And it's a consistent theme is, let's get rid of the plastic. Our state is banning single-use plastic bags next week, as a matter of fact. And so, it's just, we have to always keep our ear to what's going on out there and try to be a little bit forward thinking about it.
Absolutely. When it comes to education, we have this question as well. Are we thinking of adding education about reuse, such as educating people to use their empty pet food bags as kitchen trash can liners instead of buying rolls of plastic bags? Is there any sort of reuse component that we plan to add to this program or education?
So I can answer that. So yes and no. So we are not at this time planning on issuing any reuse specific education around flex forward. Well, but that I said, flex forward is only one part of the grander PSC packaging work. As I mentioned, we are a signatory and active member of the U.S. Plastics Pact, and as such, we are committed and obligated to move the pet industry towards 100% refillable, compostable, or recyclable by 2025. And so there's some very interesting conversations when we talk about reuse around genuine reuse. So when we talk about reuse, it's not necessarily using your bag to pick up pet waste and throw it away, right? But actually working towards moving the industry towards bulk models or refillable metal models that, consumers can bring back to the store and refill those things. So that is something we are actively working on, just not particularly in the scope of Flex Forward.
Thank you, Melissa. We have a couple questions on expansions or extending this type of program. Specifically, are there plans or discussions about how we can extend this program into the Midwest? And Michael Baker, for you, is PFX really interested in the expansion of this program in all of the regions?
Yeah, the Midwest piece I'd refer to my answer earlier. It's just something short-term, a challenge that we haven't figured out how to tackle yet. I would say from the moment we announced our partnership with Earth Animal and PSC, the demand, Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, came from all of our markets and a bunch where we don't have a warehouse yet. So I think there's national demand for this program, which is why it's going to be so important to partner with other distributors outside of just pet food experts.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We have another question here. Does having sustainable packaging have significant influence on the consumer's pet food purchases? Or are they buying their choice of food regardless of the packaging sustainability?
Well, I'm happy to toss this one to the team, as a matter of fact. So we have a lot of research at PSC that shows that consumers are very interested in sustainable packaging, whether from a willingness to pay perspective, whether from a willing to pay more perspective. There's disproportionate wide amounts of conversations around sustainable packaging, plastics in the ocean. We see it as one of the top 2 to 3 topics in sustainability in the pet industry. But from a brand perspective, Mike, Cody, does that resonate with you?
I think it certainly resonates with our consumers and the people that we are trying to reach currently. Sustainability is kind of baked into Earth Animal's DNA. So it goes well beyond packaging. But I think our consumers certainly look for us to lead the industry and lead the charge to a more sustainable future. And a big part of that is the packaging. I don't know if it's going to make a decision one way or another as far as if they're going to buy our product or not, or if they're going to buy a competitor's product. But all things considered equal, I think, that certainly puts you over the top. I'm sure Georgianne and Patty have a little more direct knowledge of if people are actually asking for that when they come into the store But we do hear very positive feedback from our consumers about, the efforts we're making with our plastic packaging.
Yeah, I don't think somebody would come in and make a purchasing decision solely based on the packaging. I think it would make it easier to choose between similar products from different brands if one had the sustainable packaging versus one not. And I don't think cost would become a big issue in that point.
And I think as you were referencing about, who is attracted to your brand, I think there is a certain amount of just alignment with a brand and you understanding the values of that brand. So they may not be going, gee, what material is this? But if they feel like that brand is in alignment and has those missions as part of their organization, I think that is where people gravitate towards if they feel like it's in alignment with their own values.
I agree. That's definitely something that we see as well. We still have a few questions, but we're about at time. So I encourage you all that are on the call, if you have additional questions for us, we will be sending out that Flexing Forward report. But if you have any other questions, please reach out to us at info@petsustainability.org. And thank you again so much to all of our amazing speakers for not only participating in making this pilot program happen, but being here today with us. Melissa, I'll let you wrap it up.
Thanks, everybody. No, thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to continuing to keep you updated on the Flex Forward program. Please don't be shy. Let us know. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of the questions, but we will include information on how to get in touch with all of this. So thank you all so much for attending. And once again, thank you so much to Michael, Patty, and Georgianne for you and your entire team's participation and leadership in this program. Thanks, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Everybody.